Welcome to Danos's Pathway to Success video series. This podcast will be focused on the topic, a year in lockdown, reflecting on the past year. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Ehsan Haque. Ehsan, please introduce yourself.
Ehsan Haque, I'm the Global Head of Legal Compliance at Hamilton Capital Holding. We're a private equity firm. I've got about kind of US dollar 12, 13 billion assets under management. And we're kind of very big investors in fintech, retail, pharma, media, banking, quite actively invest. We're kind of looking at a couple of other our own proprietary fintech projects as well. And prior to here, kind of my background is qualified at Slaughter and May back in 2002. Spent sort of 17 years in investment banking, so at places like Deutsche and EMEA as an equities sales and trading lawyer mainly. Was ran the equities legal coverage for EMEA for Europe for a few years, and then I moved into fintech about 2-3 years ago as a GC at a couple of different startups.
I guess to start off with, it'll be interesting for you to walk us through your experience of, working from home and working in an office environment during this pandemic.
So interesting enough, here we're all office based. So I joined here sort of August 2020, and we've been in an office every day. And the team has grown massively. So I've got a team of about 13, 14 people now, maybe 15 people. We're hiring a lot, and the firm has got around 100 people that come in every day. So during lockdown, that's happened every day. There's been no working from home at all. It's been a kind of rule where we've all come in, and that's very, very different. Obviously, it creates a different kind of level of risk for me because I'm a sort of a global GC here. So obviously, one of the things that we need to think about is manage our employer liability risk, make sure that we're kind of dynamically risk assessing the environment where people work, making sure that we kind of got the health and safety precautions properly implemented, and risk assess that in a way that is dynamic. And we're keeping the two things in mind here: health and safety of the staff, and making sure that we're doing the right thing in terms of our employer liability as well. A lot of the brainstorming that can happen in kind of innovative environments, I describe this as an innovative working environment, can happen on the fly. So someone will pop into my office and say, I need to speak to you about something, or I need to speak to you about something else, or can you come in and let's have a chat about this, that, and the other. That doesn't happen when you're working from home because everything's a lot more structured. So when you're doing a Zoom call, it's very difficult to have that kind of conversation. So that's very, very different from when I was working from home. The difficulty can be sometimes is people have complained or noted that there is very little demarcation from when you're working, your work life and your home life, because everything kind of meshes into one.
How have you dealt with the various challenges, both as a general counsel and one of the trusted advisors to the business?
The key to any of this stuff is the people that you have around you and the people that you have working with you. So the hiring for me has been very, very important. Fit, culture, buying into sort of what I'm trying to create here. So that's more a kind of building out a team with the right people in the team. And that's been purely business driven. I'm quite pragmatic. I'll only hire if I think I need to hire. But there was so much work to do in so many different areas that I definitely needed to hire very, very quickly. So we've hired very, very quickly. But I think we've done a good job actually in terms of mapping it out. In terms of risks, I mean, it's very simple. You can have come in and think, okay, so where are the risks of the business? What can I do myself? What do I need to farm out? And do I need sort of specialists or experts in terms of external legal counsel to help me? And there've been a couple of areas here where things such as COVID, for example, I've definitely said, okay, I need to get some really good employment lawyers here. We need to manage that risk that way. Then you're kind of managing the day-to-day demands of the business, which it's a demanding role, and some of those demands are necessary because of the way the business has been growing. So I'll get involved in some of the investment stuff. I'll get involved in some of the the fintech projects we're doing. I'll get involved in general kind of growing the team and people management and things like that. And that's been a real challenge, but it's been amazing because you don't get to do that very often.
You've done an incredible job at it, growing from a company of 3 to nearly past 100 now.
The hiring is actually very, very important. because as I say, you need the right team around you. So that's super important for me.
Let's move on to your role as a leader in your team. I guess your team has grown significantly during that time, and it sounds like it's a very fast-paced environment, which is great as a junior, cutting your teeth on some really good quality work. How do you manage that with ensuring that they are growing in their legal skills or in their skill set generally?
It's a very fast moving, it's very fluid, and there are sort of demands on the business. If people that want to work here are people that want to learn and just do a variety of different things, there'll be a natural evolvement because we do so much variety. Even if I look at kind of what the work I'm doing, it's kind of, it's IP, it's group tax structuring, it's kind of, looking at kind of various specifics around investments, it's employment, it's risk management, strategy, team management, people management. It's really broad. So for me, it's basically letting people work out what they want to do and trying to facilitate that. So if someone says to me, I'm doing this for the moment, but is there a chance I can be doing this because I'm interested in it? It's my job to kind of manage that and also see if I can facilitate that. Because for me, the win-win is that people come here, learn and develop their careers. My job is to help people grow and develop here. So, training, on-the-job training, personal development plans, having those conversations with people to work out what they want to do with their careers, where they want to go. Being in this type of role, you need to trust your people, and your people need to trust you, and they'll trust you if they think you're someone that's got their best interests at heart, and we'll back them, and we'll have kind of honest conversations with them and give them decent feedback and help them develop. So that's kind of my ethos. So that is what we're trying to create here.
Kind of moving on to the next point, and one of the big things to come out of lockdown is that it has accelerated the need for in-house lawyers to utilize legal tech. How do you see legal tech revolutionizing how in-house legal teams operate?
Legal tech is like massive, right? What is it? What does it actually mean? Is how do you store data, or your contract storage, your contract management, taking volume contracts and commoditizing them, or NDAs. So there's a lot of. I think it's going to be a big part of a growing area in the future for legal teams. I think it does depend on what the teams do. So if you're a firm where you've got a lot of commoditized stuff, you've got loads of customers that do executing uniform terms and conditions. Where do you store those contracts? Where do you take key terms? How do you summarize those contracts? How do you summarize the risks, etc., etc.? I see that as being real value. So if you get some sort of tool that helps you do that, there's lots of really good ones out in the market, and I can see massive value in that. If you're doing stuff that's a little bit more bespoke, then I think it's more difficult to commoditize. But we've got a commoditized work and commoditized, standardized business, then I think that's where the value will be.
What advice would you give to some junior or mid-level lawyers who've been working from home for the last year on how to develop their careers and feel like this year hasn't stagnated their progress in any way?
You've got to think about sort of what skills you want to pick up, and whether you want to evolve in terms of your kind of career. Take a look at your skills. Take a look at what you want to be doing. If you're able to take some risk, take the risk, because it might pay off. If you really, really hate what you do, and you've got the opportunity to do something different, then if you don't try that, you'll never know. So that's the whole thing about it. I've probably got more of a risk appetite than some other people, I'd say. But sometimes you just have to sort of give it a whirl.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You've given us some excellent, insight into your career as a lawyer.
Well, it's a pleasure talking to you as ever, Maame. And take it easy.